are listening to the War Rapport.
Let's move on and talk about that room. And some of you in the comments may have mentioned that already, but we'll talk about them. Here is the safeties. Returning, number 1, Donovan Kaufman. Number 11, Zion Puckett. Caden Bridges, who we've been hearing a lot of good things from. John Reese-Bellew. Coming in this year is Caleb Wooden, Craig McDonald, Marquise Gilbert, Paul Thompson Jr., and out the door is Bydarius Knighton, Smoke Monday, Eric Reed Jr., and Devin Geis. So continue on with this. Who were you thinking about? Were you thinking about Donovan Kaufman, Mike?
I was thinking about Craig McDonald because we heard he had a scoop and score in the scrimmage.
Okay.
Now, we were told in the open field,
it took him a while to get there.
He might have got walked, but he got there. He did get there. So maybe speed isn't his thing. But we've heard some great things about this. On this list are some guys that have interviewed with us. And as a rule of life, if you interview with the War Rapport, you're probably going to be a star the next season. So I'm looking for Donovan Kaufman to be that guy this year. I can't stress enough. We're going to play a clip from the interview, but this kid learned some things from last season. He's got that dog mindset. You know, he talked about those Louisiana boys are just built different. There's something in the water down there in the boot. Something about the water down there, but he has a chance to really build on last season. In the A&M game, he took a bad angle, let a guy get by him, but he didn't give up and he punched the ball out and he did some things. And we talked to him about that game. I like this. I think this group has a chance to be significant playmakers the same way that the corner group does as well too. So this is a good room. Now, what did you lose? Smoke. Obviously, a lot of experience went out the door, but maybe a couple of targeting penalties too. Bydarius Knighton, there was some decent, I think, experience that left there as well too. He was a grad transfer, but at the end of the day, we get Craig McDonald is in here, Marquise Gilbert. They're playmakers in this group, man. Zion Puckett, I like this group a lot. There are some potential playmakers here, so I think they'll be deep. And if they have to rotate, I'm confident about the guy who's behind the guy.
Does this appear to be the deepest our safeties have been in a while? Because it always seems like we've had maybe 3, maybe 4 guys tops that we can really rely on in a game at safety. But from what I've been hearing, it's almost like we got three guys that we can rely on. Obviously, Kaufman may be in the slot. That's kind of who I think may be one of the slot corners. Depending on if they bring out 3 corners. But I'm loving the depth that we have this year, and to me, it makes this competition very intriguing as to who's going to take the. Obviously, I expect Zion Puckett to get one of those spots, but
yeah, I do too.
The competition for who's opposite of him is really going to be interesting. I've been hearing good things about Caden Bridges. Of course, you just mentioned Craig McDonald. There's Marquise Gilbert. So I'm excited to see, especially with this, this Friday scrimmage, if we hear some good things of the safety position. Mike G, who did you like starting as far as your corners and slot guys?
Oh, see, that's tough, man. You asking tough questions. The corners, I don't know, man. Any of them? Take your pick, man. I like a lot of those guys. I like Simpson. I think Pritchett, we've heard just way too much about him to ignore him. Potentially the fastest guy on the team, consistently mentioned as the fastest guy on the team. So I look for those guys first to step in. But I think that we have some potential other playmakers back there. It's just going to see. And then, for safeties, you can't ignore Donovan Kaufman's experience at this point. And maybe Craig McDonald. So we'll see. I'm interested to see what that defensive depth chart is going to look like. But no, I like those 4 guys. But that's not to say anything bad about the other guys, Wooden, Gilbert, Puckett, Bridges. I think all these guys have a chance to contribute this year as well, too.
I agree.
I think Wooden might end up being the best player in this room. Honestly, he's just young. So his full potential won't be realized this year. he won't have enough reps with the guys who are good in front of him. But that's who I think Caleb Wooden is going to be outstanding in due time.
We heard a lot about him even in spring. He made some noise fresh out of high school. Exclusive TV. Appreciate you hanging out with us, man. He says, imagine 3 lockdown corners plus the safeties. That's a scary sight when you think about what we already have up front with our defensive line, right?
Yeah,
so
man.
He also says the fact Zion weighs 200 plus pounds is a scary sight.
It is. It is.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's nuts to think about that this guy can be bringing all that weight, and we've heard everybody's gotten faster too. So he's going to be flying at people. There's a 200-pound cannonball coming at you.
Yeah, for sure. What can I think you're in here. Tell me what do you think about this safety room? You kind of gave your thoughts earlier about the cornerbacks, but who are you liking?
I mean, I heard some great things about Caden Bridges. I think that he's definitely going to be a solid contributor. Donovan Kaufman, actually, though he's listed as safety, maybe playing a little bit of the slot corner for us, maybe a little bit of nickel. And, you know, he's going to be a committed contributor, again, according to him, in the special teams room as well. So looking forward to that. The guys who I think is going to be interesting are going to be Craig McDonald and Marquise Gilbert out of this room, because I think Craig McDonald brings the experience from playing at a Power 5 school, and he's likely going to get the nod from that perspective. But Marquise Gilbert probably has more of the profile of what you want as far as size, speed.
Right.
If he can get up to speed quickly, that's going to be imposing. But the most interesting person in here, outside of new guy Caleb Wooden, who I expect to be great going into the future, 2 or 3 years of great safety play out of him, is Zion Puckett, because he is kind of in that hybrid linebacker size, DB ball skills type of person. And I just think that he's going to be a guy who's going to be out there maybe punishing people, man. Like, he allows us to be very multiple in the ways that we can line up because of his size, because he is more like a linebacker, and he's going to be able to play that hybrid role. There's a lot of guys in that mold in the NFL right now who have linebacker size but have DB skills. So he translates really well if they can figure out how to make him that kind of player. That star position, if you guys remember, that we used to have, is really what that was. It was a hybrid DB linebacker. And Donovan Kaufman fits that perfectly. So I'm definitely looking forward to see how he's going to be utilized specifically in this defense to allow us to maybe have a look that looks like 6 DBs, but essentially have an additional linebacker-sized person in there.
Right.
You know, this is year 2 under this in this new defense. First year with Schmetting, who's already been on staff. You know, there was kind of a learning curve as the defense was kind of being asked to do some different things coverage wise. Your thoughts on them being able to play a little bit faster on the back end, seeing as though they have a better understanding of what the coaches are asking them to do this year?
Yeah. No, I absolutely think that's going to be happening this year. I think the entire defense is going to be able to play faster. That's one of the questions we did talk. Did we? I haven't looked at the entire edited interview yet, Mike. Was that on when we were talking? When I was asking him what were they doing with this whole thing? That we?
Hey, I didn't cut it out.
I saw. Yeah, it's
I
there.
didn't cut it
it's
out.
There.
Yeah, because it was not. He said they changed it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, so like we could put this in there because it was too funny to cut out. Yeah.
So I think they understand what it is that they're being asked to do. He also talked about like the number of installs of different types of things that they're trying. So this defense is going to be exotic. Like, they're going to be trying to throw a lot of looks at people. And so you can see that defensive coordinator Jeff Schmetting has a lot of ideas of different things that they want to be able to do with this group. And that's encouraging because I think that this defense can be very multiple. So for him to say, yeah, I mean, they're essentially installing something new every day, every practice, they're getting a new look that they're able to throw out there. If they can get a good portion of that down, that will allow them to just be like, okay, you guys remember when we did this one thing this one time? We're going to go back to that for this game because of, man, that's exciting. That means every Saturday you try it out there, you can be seeing a different Auburn defense that's catered for that offense that they're going up against. And I like to see stuff like that.
I like that too. And how beneficial you think that'd be to the offense if they're seeing all types of like exotic looks in practice throughout the week? How does that prepare them for the season, you think?
I mean, I think it allows the quarterbacks to be able to see a multiplicity of looks and be more prepared for different things that they may be able to have or may have to go up against as they get into the season. I mean, the thing about it is it's helpful, but it's also like one of those things where you never really get comfortable seeing a particular look as well. So you don't, get to really go against it a bunch of times. Oh man, look, man, this cover 2 shell that they're doing, I know exactly how to attack that. That means that you've really got to be on your film game as an offensive as a quarterback in the an offensive line. Really, it's just kind of understanding what these looks mean for us. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out as we start to get into game planning. And figuring out how to pare this down for a specific week of practice. And like, we're really going to go through these 5 looks and these 5 beaters for this particular type of stuff. So I'm interested to see how it sounds very NFL, the way that they're rolling a lot of this stuff out.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it. So it's going to be interesting to see how, again, the speed in which you are able to play. That's one of the things that made Kevin Steele, I guess, his defense is formidable is because they could play fast. They didn't have to think a lot. Like their responsibilities were essentially the same for the vast majority of the things that they were doing. So you can play faster because you're not thinking as much. This defense seems to be a little bit more complex. So you have to kind of really know what you're doing.
Agreed.
Which showed last year. Like guys didn't know what their responsibilities were. Sometimes play to play. The calls were coming in a little bit late. So you're having to adjust on the fly while remembering, oh yeah, we're in this defense with this shell and we're doing this kind of stunt up front that has this back end blitz and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So which gap responsibility am I doing here? Like that's a lot to have to process in a very short amount of time. So how quickly, and that's why I think when I talk about Craig McDonald, I think his experience is going to be helpful. Because even if I don't know exactly what the call was on this particular play, I know what this formation was on this particular offense that we're going up against. Oh yeah, I've seen this before on tape. He can process those things maybe a little bit more quickly than a Marquise Gilbert, than a Caleb Wood, and then what I'm saying, like guys who just haven't had that type of responsibilities before at this level.